And we got, of course, Miss T. Jones. Don't be shy, Miss T. Jones. Come on, don't be shy. And we have a very, very special guest tonight. Don't touch that dial. You all are familiar with this brother. He's a poet extraordinaire, Brother Blaq Ice in the building.
Yes,
American
yes, y'all.
poet, international spoken word, life artist, entertainer, lecturer, promoter, producer, host, published author, mentor, activist. We can go on and on. This brother right here, I'm very excited to have him in the building tonight. So, Brother Blaq Ice, what inspired you to be the man that you are today? Because you're not just a poet, you're a humanitarian.
Yes, sir.
You're an activist. What inspired you to be the brother that you are today?
Well, let me say this first. Today my son was asked a question by his teacher to draw a picture of his hero. And after thinking for a moment about who made the most De Niro, he drew a picture of me in a mirror. Came home and he posted it on the refrigerator door, and when I saw it, it touched me to the core. I was outdone. There's nothing more than a father wants to hear than admirations from his son. So that night as I tucked him in, I wanted to be crystal clear, so I sincerely whispered in his ear, "Son, I love you." And yawning with his hands in front of his mouth, he said, "Daddy, I love you too." As he laid in front of me, I was touched. It was like a needle had stuck me in my arm and my blood was right in front of me. So when I think to myself how far he has come, and despite all the obstacles, everything that he has achieved and done, my son may consider me to be his hero. But to me, my hero is my son. I wanted to start off like that because life is what inspires me.
Yeah.
And as an early, at an early age as a child, my mom, who's a Jehovah's Witness, used to bring home these books called My Book of Bible Stories.
Yeah.
And you can live forever in paradise on earth. And as I opened these books and saw the illustration of paradise, pictures, I began to write poems about nature and about family and about paradise and about peaceful things.
Wow.
And so that's what was the beginning of my poetry career at a very early age in grade school, where I began to write poems about just peace and paradise.
Wow. Peace in paradise, Blaq
Yes.
Ice. Peace in paradise is what you bring. Every time you touch the mic, every time you touch the stage, you bring peace and paradise to our city. I watch you. You've inspired so many youth to put down the guns. You inspired so many youth to go to college. You've inspired them to write books. You've motivated them to be a greater person. How does that make you feel?
Well, I have to give all glory and praise to God on that. We don't want to get too big to think that it's us.
That's good.
You know,
That's good.
God is entrusted me with a gift to have the power to help do those things that you just spoke of. And I'm glad that I'm obedient to this gift that he has given me, because many people are sitting on this gift. Many people are using it for the purposes of enlarging filth. We hear it on the radio, not this station, but we hear it on a lot of radio stations where women are demeaned, and it's all about how many cars you have or how much money you have or how many women you have. And we choose to use this spoken word poetry to uplift, inspire, and motivate. And the fact that we have deterred some people from committing suicide, the fact that we have deterred some people from picking up a knife or a gun, but instead picking up a pen and inspiring them to express themselves creatively, writing it out or performing it out, I think that God has really shined his light on myself and my organization, Poet, who we're not only doing this here in the Chicagoland area, but we're doing it in Hobbema, Alberta, Canada. We're doing it in the UK. We're doing it in Jakarta, Indonesia, and all throughout the United States where Poet members are. We're touching lives everywhere. Our motto is changing the world one heart, one mind, one verse at a time.
So I have a question for you. So you said you started writing like as a young child. So how did you get from that place to a place where you were confident in your gift and you owned it, and also to a place where you ultimately started an organization for other people who have gifts similar to yours? So how did you get from that place to the next?
Well, something interesting happened in 1985. I saw a movie called Crush Groove. And Crush Groove was the movie about the Def Jam founder, one of the Def Jam founders, because the other one was Rick Rubin, it was Russell Simmons, and the movie was about hip hop. That's when I fell in love. I fell in love with hip hop because for the first time in my life, I was able to make my words move. I mean, before I began to put them to music, they were just words. Right. But now when I put them to music, they became rhythm and poetry, R-A-P, rap, rhythm and poetry. So in 1986, I started my hip hop career. My name at that time was Ice Cold, the Ultimate Warrior. I was in love with WWF at the time, and I was the wrestler of the Ultimate Warrior was my man. And Ice Cold just came from street credibility. You know, people listening to me MC and say, man, that boy is ice cold. So I began to fall in love with hip hop, and I began to get deep into rap music at that time. And that's where the change began to happen, because rap in Chicago was very combative, and it was very competitive. And so you had to have that confidence in hip hop. It was almost like you had a chip on your shoulder. You remember LL Cool J, no rapper can rap quite like I can. Take a muscle bound, man. So everything was really, it was boastful. And so having that as a background, leading into my spoken word career, really gave me an advantage over a lot of people that did not have those roots as I did as a performer in an early age. And then I had a good mentor. My mentor was Sax Preacher. And I always give that brother credit. We have to give our mentors credit because he's the one who taught me the business of show business. Not just reciting, but entertaining also, because who wants to come and just sit and not be entertained? Right. And so the entertainment became the mustard and the ketchup and the Lowry seasoning salt, and what I put inside of the entertainment became the meat, so they consume the message. It made it better for them to consume it when entertainment was involved.
And when did you realize that your words could change the world? When did you realize that your words can change the world? There's always a point with us lyricists and us artists and us poets where we realize how much power we have.
Well, I always knew that I had the ability to make people move. That was one thing. But when I found out that I had the ability to affect life was in 1990 at Tilden High School. I did a program. That's when I first began to start the Poet Organization, an edutainment program. After the program, there was a young lady who came up to me, and I would never forget her words. She said, if you only had been here a day earlier, maybe my friend might not have committed suicide.
Wow.
Wow.
And that was the turning point in my life when I knew that God possessed me with the gift, and he put words in my tongue, and those words had the power for either life or death.
Wow. So do you feel like a lot of your writing have brought healing to you?
Oh my God. That's the first thing. It's self-healing. You know, people think that, okay, well, man, he's really speaking into my life. Well, we really speaking into our own. Nevermore has this thing become more evident in my life after the loss of my 15-year-old son to cancer. And I didn't have a way to express how I felt. You know, as a man, you just always feel like you gotta be strong. You gotta be strong for the family. But man, when I lost my 15-year-old son, it brought me to the point of suicide. And the only thing that I had was my pen, my paper, and my ability to do what God blessed me to do. Get on that stage and release everything. And still to this day, when people hear that piece, they are brought to tears. And many times I'm brought to tears because I have to relive this sore, this cut, this wound. I have to keep reopening that wound every time that I perform that piece. So some people say, oh man, I want you to do that piece. I just can't do it just because you want me to do it. You know, I have to mentally, emotionally, and spiritually be ready to do that piece when I do it.
I want to ask you a little more about that because like our show is all about like empowering the listeners. And so like somebody out there, like obviously like there's a lot of violence in Chicago. So somebody who's listening may very well have lost like a family member to, you know, to violence or what have you. Or someone could have had, you know, like a mother or a father who recently passed away, or they could have lost a child. So can you tell me like what you would say to them, like how can you, what advice would you tell them to help them navigate through whatever pain they may be going through?
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I work at Stroger Hospital on the west side of Chicago, Cook County.
Come on, Ice.
Okay.
We had a death today.
Mm.
And I had to speak to the family today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, while the nurses were busy doing their regular duties, I felt compelled and connected to this family because I was once that family.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that you want to do is offer your condolences.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing you want to do is to let them know that you understand not how they feel, but how it feels.
Yes, yes.
I never say that I understand how you feel, because I'm not you. But I understand how it feels,
Yeah.
not only to lose a loved one, but to lose a child.
Yeah.
I've lost a parent. It ain't nothing compared to losing a child.
Yeah.
And so there are steps that are involved. For those who are listening out there and you lost someone recently, let me explain to you the process of what you're going through right now. The first step is denial. You can't even believe that it happened.
True, true.
Or you can't even believe that it happened to you. And then you begin to question God. Well, why did you allow this to happen to me? So the first thing is denial. The second thing is anger a lot of times.
Wow, yeah.
Because I was angry. I'm like, God, I'm sitting out here. I'm doing all these things for you. I'm going to these schools. I'm going to these juvenile detention centers. I'm going to these homeless shelters. What did I do to you that caused you to allow this to happen to me in my life? So that's the second thing, anger. The third thing is acceptance. And you begin to understand that you're never going to see this person again in the flesh. So then after acceptance come, then you begin to say, well, maybe God has an answer, or what am I to expect next? And see, I believe in a resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe in God's word. And I said to him, God, your word got to be true. Because if your word is true, that's the only way I can reunite with my son. And so I have hope, and I have faith, and I have belief that God's word is true enough for me to believe in it and to try my best to live by it so that I can get to the point where I can be reunited with my son again.
Amen. Do you feel like at times now anger still happen, or you have anger with God, or?
Well, not today. It was something that was interesting that happened when I lost my son in my search. And there were people who came up to me and said, well, maybe it was something that you're doing wrong. I mean, people are just cruel for no reason.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just charge it to ignorance,
Yeah.
you know. But it made me look, you know, is the sins of the father passed down to the son and those type of things. And every being and soul is accountable for their own.
True.
But it allowed me to do something. And searching for those answers, I became fixated on getting closer to God.
Amen. Amen.
And so here it is now, 7.5 years later. And I have a Bible radio show now.
That's good.
That's been running
Yeah.
for 7 years. And we go live every Tuesday.
Okay.
And we try to question what we think we know.
Yeah.
What we believe, what we've been told or we've been taught, because man can err,
Yeah.
but the word of God can't.
That's
So
true.
we have to back up everything that's presented before us with what's written in that word.
That's
And our
right.
motto on
That's
this
right.
Bible show, Truth Hour, is if you can't read it, don't believe it.
And you know, poetry is the person. Poetry is not the lyrics, and that's what you really embody. Like, you are your poetry. You're like the Batman of poetry. You don't just kick the lyrics, man. You go to the hospital to see the people that you're
That's
talking
right.
about. You get it, and I like what you said. You know, some people are very ignorant, and we don't mean it in a bad way. We just mean that they haven't fully grown yet, and you have that understanding that this gift that God gave us is not for us.
That's right.
It's to use our words to heal, and not only heal, but
That's
go out
good.
and see
Yes,
the people
yes.
that we're healing and mentoring. And when I saw you the first time at 89.3 FM, poetry was lyrics to me. And then when I met you, poetry became the individual. It became who the person is, and I began to, you know, look outside of my notepad and look outside of my lyrics and realize that poetry is more than speaking.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've never seen somebody as passionate and as driven as you are. And let's talk about your poet organization. You have been able to drive all these people to come together and make an impact in the community. You've been able to have so many people gravitate towards you and what you do.
Well, again, in 1990, I began to follow in the footsteps of my mentor, Sax Preacher, and I started an organization called Poet, People of Extraordinary Talent. And I began to do edutainment programs in the high schools, grammar schools, and even colleges. And I wanted to unite people together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, we are great, but collectively, we are powerful.
Yeah.
And power is what changes reality. And so, back in the day, I don't know how far you guys go back in the day, but we had a cartoon called Super Friends. And it was Superman, and it was Batman, and it was Wonder Woman, it was the Avengers, just like that.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna bring it up to date. I'm gonna bring it up to date.
I'm looking like
just like the Avengers. And all these superheroes came together and they consolidated their power to right the wrongs of what was going on in humanity.
Okay.
And so I applied that same principle to the Poet organization. Here it is, we have people in Detroit, Wisconsin, we have people all over the world who are doing or following the franchise
Okay.
format that we've created here in Chicago, where they're going into the schools now in their cities. They're going into the juvenile detention centers in their cities.
Yeah.
And we're giving them a format that they can build off of to show them that, hey, take your spoken word poetry, go into that school, let students know that, hey, we want you to write about that bad experience that you had. If you've been raped, if you've been molested,
Yes.
we want you to tell your deep, dark secret, but we want you to write it out.
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
And then once they
That's good.
release that, and see, when you have a closed fist, nothing can get in it or can get out of it. But when you open it up and let those things out of you that you've been holding on to, those deep, dark secrets, now God can come inside of you even more
Yeah.
than he already was. He can begin to cultivate inside of you. Any flower that exists today had to grow in
That's
dirt.
true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
So
yes.
let's
Yes.
take that dirt
That's good. Yes.
and let's grow that flower from that dirt.
Mhm.
And let's make it something beautiful.
Yes, that's
Although
good.
the
That's
intention
good.
and the purpose of the person who did the dirt to you may have been something bad, but God would take dirt and he would make something beautiful out of it.
Come on.
That's good. That's good.
We gotta open up these phone lines. I'm sure some
Yes,
people
yes,
that want to communicate with Brother Blaq Ice. Mario, if you will.
Write down that address for me too. I have somebody coming. They said I gave them the wrong address. I gave the address that you gave me.
If you will, you can call in. The on-air line numbers are 708-445-9922. The Indiana number is 219-933-9922. And the Chicago number is 773-288-9922. Come on, speak on it.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
Can I say this?
We gotta hear some more.
Address?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Restore, I know you're listening. Get here, girl, as soon as you can. 3663 Calumet Avenue, Hammond, Indiana. 3663 Calumet Avenue. Restore, get here. Well, and I want to say what's up to all my Facebook listeners live. Y'all say what's up. 2 and 2. We are on Facebook
Hey, what's
Live.
going on?
Facebook Live.
Now I do have a question too. Like, what's the significance of the name of the organization, Poet, People of Extraordinary Talent?